scholar, and you, in creating the discipline that you call music thanatology, you drew a great inspiration from the whole field of monastic medicine.
Yes.
And we talk about that. I guess it was really in the Middle Ages that the very phrase, the art of dying, was coined.
We take our historical inspiration from monastic medicine, as you said, and specifically from French Cluniac spirituality. The monks at Cluny were a reform group. It was a part of the Benedictine order. And the Cluniac spirituality came into the world and spread throughout Europe over a period of about 200 years. In particular, it's the 11th century documents that carefully, painstakingly delineate many details of monastic medicine. And this particular medicine has so much in common with what we call today palliative medicine. It anticipates palliative medicine by almost 800 years.
Can you define that word, palliative?
Yes. Palliative medicine, the word pallium is Latin for to cloak. Palliative medicine comes out of oncology and cancer, and is closely associated with the hospice movements in England and in Europe and in the United States, and is concerned very, very much with the alleviation of pain when the diagnosis, when someone really and truly has a terminal diagnosis, when it is clear that that all kinds of surgical procedures and other procedures have been exhausted, and it's clear that the person is going to die. The focus tends to be, how can I help? How can I help alleviate physical pain, and what can we do to help you meet your process fully so that you can live more fully up until the end? Some people call that quality of life. Other people call that a conscious death, a blessed death. But it has so much in common with those documents of monastic medicine. And I think one very interesting point I'd like to bring out is these customaries, written by scribes Bernard and Ulrich, point out monastic medicine had a twofold regime: care of the body, cure of the soul. So it's a very different orientation.
The thinking being that even if the body is going through a process of death, there is still healing for the soul.
Yes, yes. And that is something we speak about in our work, that we sometimes witness deathbed healing without curing, meaning some sort of reconciliation with the inner life, or the events of our personal biographies take place in such a way that the issues of finishing up the important details, perhaps asking forgiveness, completing the details with people with whom our relationships have become fractured or broken, telling the people we love that we love them, doing the inner work of letting go. These things are all part of the care of the soul, and allow a person to go increasingly into the inner work of dying in such a way that it's a conscious or blessed or peaceful experience, one that one isn't fighting. Yeah.
You consider, although your work is medical, you're at a hospital, and academic, you're the dean of a program in music thanatology, you consider this work also, as I understand it, to be a spiritual discipline.
Yes, music thanatology is really and truly, I think, a contemplative activity with clinical applications. We're very, very much aware that I don't think it would be possible to do this work without some sort of interior practice, a daily interior practice, and the renewal of that practice all the way through the formation and then through your life as a clinician, as a musician clinician.
A musician clinician.
Yes.
And that brings us to the whole element of the use of, I think, I'm tempted to say sound rather than music, because I certainly want to make sure that our viewers don't get the impression that you're engaged in some sort of concert at the deathbed.
Oh, that's a great point. It's true. It is very, very different from the kind of training that you receive if you get a degree in a performance practice, like a degree in piano, a degree in cello, or if you go through conservatory training, which is all about performance practice geared towards the concert life.
Mm-hmm.
This work is very, very much an interior practice. I don't think it's possible to do this work without some form of very deep kind of self-knowledge, the
Mm-hmm.
practice of self-knowledge. And as everyone knows, that's not something that one achieves and then sits there and says, I'm there. We
It's
work
ongoing.
at ongoing all the
Mm-hmm.
time. So the practice of self-knowledge, and we also have to learn how to die to little things each and every day. Actually, to try and to make the commitment to begin each day with a clean slate, meaning to forgive yesterday's conflicts, is very challenging work.
Mm-hmm.
And also to let go of, to separate the essential from the non-essential, and to let go of the things that aren't all that terribly important. Those are daily, hourly practices in the big letting go at the end of life.
Yes.
And so I think Western Christian monasticism and Buddhist monasticism, there are so many different spiritual practices which hold this meditative process in common,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's meditative or contemplative.
The notion of letting
go and preparing for death by dying to something each day.
Mm-hmm. Well, at death, one lets go of everything. Body, friends, family. You're left, I guess, with spirit, whatever that is.
Victor Turner, the anthropologist Victor Turner, describes this period as the liminal period, a period in which all of our normal identities and relationships are dissolving and boundaries are crossing. I think for many people there are so many layers of this dissolution, of this unbinding. We have to let go of our position in the world. What happens if I'm not strong enough to maintain my job, my employment, my vocation anymore? I have to let go of my title as dean or professor or truck driver or farmer or whatever it is I am. And also my relationships in the work life change, the relationships at home change. What if we also go through things like disfigurement? Almost every single aspect of ourselves requires change, but I think maybe first on the outside and then on the inside. Starts to go more and more deeply. And then all the classical things that you hear of, till eventually one even no longer has the desire to eat food, or sometimes at the very end patients don't even want water anymore.
Now, why would sound or music have anything to do with this process?
I think maybe our greatest contribution to the field clinically has to do with the understanding that the music that we play, which we refer to as prescriptive music because it's individually suited for each person. There is no such thing as recorded music done for the dying. It's always live music delivered in teams of 2 or more. The prescriptive music that we play for the dying person at what we call the deathbed vigil primarily revolves around music that does not have a pulse or a countable beat. Most of the music that you know and love, whether it's from the radio or your favorite recordings or the concerts, you can count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or even changing meters, but you can count. There's a discernible pulse and beat. The majority of the music that we play is free. The term is melismatic. Free, does not have a pulse, that revolves around a great deal of Gregorian chant, but there are also prayers from the Hebrew tradition and other traditions which are also kind of a free cantillation, which are free of rhythm. And it's this providing people with music free of rhythm that helps the unbinding, helps support the unbinding process.